A binding vow is a pact made with Jujutsu that creates conditions for themselves or agreements with others. Binding vows are considered by all Jujutsu users to be one of the essential tenets of Jujutsu sorcery. Binding vows are essentially contracts that an individual can make with oneself or another person. The act of abiding by the rules and restrictions agreed upon in these contracts can result in a greater power or the achievement of a goal, but breaking a binding vow has uncanny repercussions. Self-imposed restrictions that are potentially harmful to the creator, such as willingly limiting the amount of cursed energy they can use for a period of time, can increase the amount of the user's cursed energy and of their cursed techniques. As a product of negative emotions, cursed energy responds to the desires of its individual user. As a result, the user can increase the power of their cursed energy by stating a self-imposed cursed restriction that creates riskier conditions to use their abilities. For example, by divulging one's cursed technique, it creates more risk for them, making their cursed energy swell in response to its user's resolve. In addition, creating rules for using one's cursed energy and abiding by those rules which allow their cursed technique to improve in strength. The penalty of breaking a binding vow with oneself is the loss of whatever was gained through the contract. Here are some examples. In Nanmi Kento's case, overtime, a binding vow used by Kento Nanami that limits the amount of cursed energy he can access to about 80 to 90% while on the clock working for Jujutsu High. Once his normal shift ends and he begins working overtime, Nanami's cursed energy increases dramatically. By invoking overtime, Nanami is able to utilize 110 to 120% of his maximum power. In Mahito's case, he imposed a binding vow on his instant spirit body of distorted killing form that increased his toughness in exchange for being unable to metamorphosize himself using idle transfiguration. A separate binding vow is imposed on his elbow blades and head tendrils that allows him to freely change their shape. If you are familiar with Hunter x Hunter's Nen, there is something also called vow there. It's the same principle. You can break the vow rules, but you will face the consequences.